Voilà. Ça y est, ça marche. Okay, it works. Wow, it's so nice to have everyone here tonight. Thank you for coming. And please, while I'm talking, just feel free to serve yourselves. There's also like some soup behind you, so just walk, serve yourself, just feel at home. I wanted just to say, maybe at the end of the class, Rachel, if you want to say a few words to us. Wanted to say, yes, at the end. So, tonight's class with Abigail, we were discussing like subjects, like what to talk about, and Shalom Bayit is one of the most vital subjects. Like everyone needs to speak about their Shalom Bayit. And it doesn't matter if you're at the beginning of your marriage or if you already have like 20, 30 years of marriage behind you. Shalom Bayit is something that you need to work on all the time. And actually, I would go even further. You don't need to work on your Shalom Bayit because you're fighting. Or when you're fighting. That's not when you work on Shalom Bayit. You work on Shalom Bayit when actually you're not fighting with your husband. Because when you're fighting, at the moment when you're like in the middle of the fight, you have so many emotions are involved. So you're basically spending time trying to basically fighting over your emotions, but you're not talking about the problems. You cannot construct anything. You cannot actually move forward. You cannot think about a future because your emotions are involved and you cannot think straight. So the best moment to actually work on your Shalom Bayit is when you're not fighting with your husband. So it's like if you're here tonight and you want to hear about Shalom Bayit, it's not because you have problems at home. It's because you want to have a better home. You want to have a warmer home, and that can always be improved. So that's something that we always have to keep in mind. It's an ongoing effort. Also tonight, I'm sure there's a lot of things that I will say that you already know. What I'm hoping the difference will be is that sometimes you need to hear it again because the first time you heard it, you're not ready to actually apply it. So hopefully tonight, maybe something that you will come home with, you will be able to apply it, you will be able to change, really things. You'll be ready to actually listen and make changes. Or it could be something new, and I would be very happy if everyone goes home and even takes one thing, that will already, you'll see a change if you do it constantly. Like Shalom Bayit has to be like a constant. It's something that we work on an ongoing basis. It's not like something we do when we feel like it. It's something that we have to work on every day. Every day. Once a Rav told me, and I thought the idea was very beautiful. He said, you cannot just jump into a jacuzzi because you'll be freezing. Especially now, I don't suggest you go and try the jacuzzi. You'll be really cold. The way you do it is that you warm up the jacuzzi for a few hours, and then you go and you have fun in the jacuzzi. The same idea, you cannot just expect Shalom Bayit to come to you. It's something that you have to work on. You have to warm up your husband before he goes home. If all day you didn't speak to him, and all of your interaction, because before he left the house was like, take the kids to school. Did you get them dressed? Does he have his shoes? What do you do? What do you want to do for lunch? It's very, let's say, stressful. And then he comes home at night. He had a stressful day, or whatever happened at work. And he comes home and you're already saying, please help me with the kids, or please, what are you doing about the bills, or what are we going to do this month about my car, or whatever. It's like, you don't realize, but basically he left in a stressful way. That's the only interaction he had. Then all day you don't even know what happened to him. And then he comes home and there's even more, stress that you put upon him. Of course you're going to have a fight. I mean, it makes sense. Just think about this jacuzzi. You want your husband to come home, send him a small text during the day, like, how you doing? How's work? I don't know, we're not going to go into details. It's private. I don't have to give you everything. Maybe when we turn off the camera, we can go deeper into things. But as a general thing, and again, the Shalom Bayit class obviously is going to have installments. This is going to be very general. We're going to start, the subject, and after we turn off the camera, we're going to have a discussion. But it's something that we need to really go, and there's matters that you need to discuss, more like intimacy, something that we need to discuss without the camera. But it's something that maybe in smaller group is something also that has a class in itself. It's not something that you just, speak about in a minute. It needs a bigger, a deeper discussion. So the idea is this, is during the day, you warm up your husband. During the day, you make the feelings, these feelings that we were talking about at the beginning of the class, you make positive feelings. You send a little text, a smiley, whatever you want, like a note, a vocal note on WhatsApp, but something that your husband is going to look forward to come home. You warm up the atmosphere. And then when the husband comes home, it will be already in a different mentality, in a different perspective. So already you're going to deal with something different. Now, tonight is Rosh Chodesh Shvat. The month of Shvat is a very happy month. There's so many holidays. We have Yud Shvat for the Chabadnikim. We have Tu B'Shvat for everyone. What's Tu B'Shvat? Tu B'Shvat is the birthday of the trees, right? It symbolizes growing. What's a tree? You take a seed, you put it in the earth, and it really disintegrates itself, and then it grows and grows, and you have to nurture it. You have to put water. You have to put like fertilizer. You have to give things to your tree. You have to work on it, and only if you do a good job, it will grow. I know a few times I've tried to plant in my garden vegetables. I go to Home Depot, I'm super excited. I come back with plants of tomatoes, zucchinis, and watermelons, and I tell all the kids, like I feel like a very good mom. I tell all the kids, let's go, let's plant. We put our hands in like the mud and everything. But at the end, if I go like, let's say a week away from the home, or I don't water the plant, or I forget about them, they die. Most of the time, I've been very unsuccessful in keeping my plants alive. A marriage is the same. That's why it's very, like my team, it's very compatible that we talk about it tonight when it's Rosh Chodesh Shvat. A marriage, you have to nurture it. You have to give it water. You have to give him warmth. You have to give him the sun. You have to give him love. That's how a plant grows. You know about this very well-known experiment that they put two plants, and one plant they kept telling it like words of love, and the other one they kept cursing it and saying bad things to it. One plant flourished and the other one just died. That's the idea. You want something to flourish, you want something to grow, you want your relationship to grow, you have to feed your plant. You have to feed your husband. You have to give him what he needs. And we're going to go over what he needs. So this is something extremely important. That's why it's not just any subject that we're like just talking about tonight. It's a subject that we want to go deeper and delve into it. One more idea before we go into this Shalom Bayit class and go into practical tips is the idea that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hashem considers Shalom Bayit. We see that when Avraham Avinu had his Brit Milah, the angels came to visit him. And one of the questions they asked him was, where is Sarah? Where is your wife? And Avraham answered, she's in the tent. But when you think about it, it's like, why did he need to know where she was? First of all, obviously, if she's not here, she's in the tent. And secondly, it's not really important. What do we need to know where Sarah is? As long as there's food on the table and Avraham is there. They came to visit Avraham, right? To do Bikur Cholim because he was sick. They didn't come to see Sarah. So the Chachamim explained that the reason why they ask about Sarah, because the fact that Avraham said she was in the tent, it was to give her a compliment, that she was very modest. So when she was in the tent, they wanted Avraham to compliment his wife. Because one of the things that is most important to Hashem is when there is Shalom Bayit, when there is love between a husband and his wife. We should always create this moment when a husband is going to want to compliment his wife, and vice versa, when the wife is going to want to compliment her husband. That's how important this is. Now, there is another idea that we want to talk about. Shalom Bayit, if you think about it, I often hear that. I speak to a lot of women who need sometimes advice about Shalom Bayit, and I always hear the divorce word comes very often. Now, I'm just going to make a disclaimer about this class. This is not a class for abusive relationship, okay? If a husband hits his wife, chas v'shalom, or there is emotional abuse or verbal abuse, this is a complete different story, right? It's not something to be used for someone who has who is in an unhealthy situation, because that will be a different class to give them. So, going back to when we speak to people, very often people get very emotional. They have sometimes very big disputes and they want a divorce. They don't feel they should stay with that person. Very often why did I marry him? Why? What am I doing with him? It doesn't bring me anything. You hear that a lot. And Also, you hear something very interesting. People say, before husbands were so nice, husbands have changed, men have changed. Today's men are so different. Today's men are this, today's men are that. Well, let me tell you, men haven't changed. No one has changed. You know what changed? The society. Today, everything is disposable. We have disposable plates, we have disposable cups, forks, knives. You don't like something, you throw it and you replace it. It's so easy to throw and replace. My phone broke. I just got a new phone to replace it. It was very easy. It was just I went on Sprint. I was due for an upgrade. Yalla, in 2 minutes, I got a new phone. It's so easy to replace things. Something breaks, no one takes the time to fix it. What for? My oven broke. I called the guy to fix it. He looked at it. He was like, don't fix it. Just buy a new one. The guy is a repairman. He's supposed to fix things. Just buy a new one. Because it's a mentality. We're so used when we don't like something, when something doesn't like, it's not to our liking, or it's not to what we want at that moment, the first thought is, yalla, I replace it. Well, that's not how it works. If Hashem gave you this husband, it's because he's your soulmate. When you went under the chuppah, it's the second part of your neshama, of your soul. He's not just like someone that you met and like, whoa, coincidence. We love each other, we like each other, let's get married. No. Once you go under the chuppah, Kadosh Baruch Hu decided that he is your soulmate. He's there for you. So work on the issue. Work on it. Fix it. Try to make it actually into something very positive. Don't just say, okay, whatever, I don't like it, I replace it. He has to change, not me. That's not how it works. People think they get married, and then they think if they get married, even if they see some things like that they don't like really, in their fiance, they think they're going to get married and everything is going to be perfect, right? But that's not how it works. You wake up in the morning and it's not Cinderella's story. It's not like Snow White. You wake up in the morning, it's real life. Hello, you married a human. He has issues and he's not perfect and you're not either, and it's okay. It's okay. Hashem chose him for you. He is here for you. So you have to put that into your mind. It's like, think if chas v'shalom someone has a child with special needs. I am lucky to have a child with special needs. And Baruch Hashem, it wouldn't cross my head for a second to replace him. That's what I have. That's what Hashem gave me. He has speech issue. I have amazing speech therapists coming to help him. It's something that you just work, right? He has a problem, you try to help him with this problem. You try to make him feel better about it. You try to work on the issue, not on changing the person. We never think about changing our kids, ever. So if Hashem gave you this husband, why would you think a second about changing him? It's not about changing him, it's how are you going to do to advance with him, to grow with him, to change. So you need tools. That's what you need. And again, I'm not talking about abusive relationship. Like if someone hits someone, we're not talking about that. We're talking about issues that most people, 99% of couples have. And most of the time, these issues they come from a few places. So before I go into practical tips, let's try to understand why we have issues, why we fight. Because if you understand, then you can answer better. I'll give you an example. My son, I always cut under his toes. So what I did, I went to get an antibiotic cream, and I kept putting antibiotic cream, and the cuts keep coming back. So last week, I went to a dermatologist, and I said, can you please look at his toes? I have these cuts all the time. I don't know if I should change the shoes. And he says, no, he has a fungus. You need an antifungal cream. And I was like, wow, this is Shalom Bayit. Sometimes you feel that I keep giving him and I keep talking to my husband and I keep doing this and I keep doing that. But if you're giving him the wrong treatment, the wrong cream, it's not going to heal itself. If I keep giving my son antibiotic cream instead of an antifungal, the thing is not going to go away. I'm going to keep having the same issue. Same with Shalom Bayit. You can keep talking and talk and talk to your husband and nothing's changing and you're so frustrated and you're upset at him and he's upset at you and you both feel like it's the end of the world and the home is like so depressing and it gets me angry. But hey, lady, you're not giving him the right treatment. It's not the good cream. Change the cream, get a professional or someone you like, a good friend, a therapist or a rabbanit, someone you like, read books. Go online. There's so many shiur bayit like about Shalom Bayit. Read. There's like books that Shiran brought for those of you who speak Hebrew, if you want to look at it later. There's things you can do to learn, but the problem sometimes is not addressed. That's why it keeps recurring, and that's why it's still here. That's why you still have problems in the home. So that's something very important. So why do we have issues with our husbands? Why do we have problems? Let's try to think about a few reasons, and then we're going to understand that better. It will give us a better understanding, and we'll be able to hopefully move forward with our couple. First, we're coming from different backgrounds. Remember that. You're both coming from different homes. Your parents didn't do the same thing. Sometimes they didn't even speak the same language. It's true. You don't express yourself the same way. For example, some parents, when they got upset, they started screaming. So your husband comes home, he gets upset, he screams. But in your family, your mom and your dad, when they got upset, they didn't speak to each other. They were very quiet. It's like the silent treatment. So that's what you do. So one is like all fire, what are you doing? And you're like, not talking to him. So it's not going to resolve itself. Most of the time, it only resolves itself because you get tired of the argument, right? Or you really need to talk. I spoke to one couple, and I promise, she told me, the lady, I once didn't speak to my husband for 2 weeks. I was like, wow. So what got you to speak to him? I needed to pay the bills, and I needed to ask him a question about the bills, and we got to speak, and I was like, wow. So if there were no bills, she said, I could go on for a month, no problem. It's like, wow, okay, come, let's talk. But that's the things. How your parents spend money is not how the other person's parents spend money. How your parent reacted to problem is not how his parents reacted to problems. So think about that before you get upset at him and you're like, he's so stupid, he's so dumb, and he's like not understanding me and this and that. Just stop for a second. Think, where is he coming from? And then when you sit with him, okay, my love, my sweetie pie, as they say in the US, my honey. I've learned a lot of new terms. But you say like, okay, I understand your parents didn't do that, but that's where I'm coming from. So let's find a middle ground. But once you know where he's coming from, there's no need to get upset at him. And neither get upset at your mother-in-law. That's how she was brought up. And it's not her fault. It's her parents too. So it's life. It's like useless to get upset at people for this, right? Instead of getting upset, think about how you can fix it. What can you do about it? How can you find a compromise? Hey, how are you? So something else, we're talking about the differences between men and women. Something else, and this one I'm sure you can relate to it, it's the talking. Women, in general, we need to speak. You know what they say, that women, they took 90% of the talking, right? It's well known. In Hasidut, what we call the feminine side, we call medaber, which means literally speak, to talk. Because we love to talk and talk and talk. And we have a problem, and we have to explain it, we have to discuss it. And we need that. It's like something that Hashem created us with. We need to talk. The guy is like, whatever, we discuss it 2 minutes, I'm done. Move on. What's the problem about it, right? Move on. But you're like dying, like, no way, what move on? No, you need to hear me. And he's like, what does she want from me? So it's very important to understand what the men want. Look, very simple example. Go to a wedding. Go with your husband. Your husband goes to the men's side. The woman, it's a religious wedding. And the women go to a woman's side, right? You come out of the wedding after 2 hours. You know all the ladies at your table, you know where they work, where they like to eat. You have 2 recipes for the next week for dinner, like you shared. You ask your husband, who did you sit with? This guy. What's his name? I don't know. Right? Why? Because they don't think the same. They don't think like us. It's in their nature. They don't think like us. That's it. You're not going to change Hashem. And once you understand that, you don't have to get upset. I remember one of my sisters, if she's watching, I'm not going to say your name. She loves birthday gifts. In my family, birthdays are big. We like there's a birthday week, right? Like a week before, it's going to be your birthday. Everyone is excited. And let's go bring her a gift. Ask her, what do you like to? And my parents call on that day, and it's like a nice day. And in her husband's family, they don't really do like birthday. They're like, oh, it's your birthday today. Okay, put tzedakah, say, tell him, Mazal Tov. So the first birthday arrived, and she's like expecting, and the husband didn't even plan a restaurant. Walu. And like we say, nada, nothing. And she's waiting all day. At the end of the day, she was decomposing. She was crying. She didn't want to talk to him. She was so sad. Mama, I felt sad for her. She was so sad, and we're all expecting, so what did he do for you? Nothing. Is it a joke? Really? Nothing. Why? Because it's not even mean. I love her husband. He's amazing. He's mamash, an amazing guy. But they don't do birthdays in his family. What do you expect from the poor guy? He didn't know. So the next year, we spoke to him. My sister, in advance, said, look, I need a birthday. I need it. Whatever you want. I don't tell you what to buy me, but I need a gift. Whatever you want. It doesn't need to be a diamond. It needs to be even a flower, but mark my birthday. Give me something. Take me out to the restaurant. And that's what they did. And since then, every year, he does a birthday. She also learned, by the way, she also learned he doesn't buy a gift that she likes. So the first year, you laugh because I'm sure it happened to you too. You get a gift and you're like, thank you. Or someone buys you like a KitchenAid. One of my brother-in-laws bought one of my sister a KitchenAid for her birthday, and she was so hurt. But he thought that she needed it, right? She cooked, she baked Shabbat for so many people. He's like, whoa, it's going to help her. She was like, I'm sorry, I was expecting like a jewelry, flower, something personal. But for him, it was like a big gift. It was expensive too. It was like $300. He was so proud of himself. Because don't talk. Just talk to him. Tell him. He's not like you. Accept it. He's not like you. That's it. You have different children, right? They're not the same. You teach them each differently. Same story with your husband. You get what you get, right? And you said, you didn't like that one. And you make the best of it. Exactly. So very, very important to, one, remember where he's coming from, the background. Second one is remember that it's not because you're married that all your problems are being solved. Most people do that main mistake that they think they get married and all the problems are solved. Well, whatever you saw that you didn't like before the wedding is whatever you'll have after. And whatever you liked before the wedding, it's what you'll have after. And because sometimes you like something before the wedding, but when you get married to the guy, you don't like it anymore. That happens. So we'll talk about that too. The third one, I would say, one of the common mistakes we make, you do not get married to fix your husband. This is not your job. This is not your job. If you get married and all you do all day is trying to change and fix him, forget it. That's not what Hashem told you. Hashem said you have to be ezer kenegdo, like a helper. You have to help him. What does it mean, help him? Don't make him feel so bad that at the end of the day, he just want to shoot himself and feel like crap. Make him feel good. Give him compliments. Find what's good about him and try to actually empower that. Because if you actually focus more on the good, you'll see less of the bad. And automatically what we say Chanukah was just a month ago, not even? What was Chanukah about? A little light pushes away darkness. You just need positivity to pushes away the negativity. That works also in a couple. So that's very important. You're not married to make him a better person. That's not your job. You're marrying someone to actually improving him, meaning you use what he has already. And if he has really bad traits, then you have to ask yourself also, why did you marry him? Sometimes, you know what they say, when you point your finger, there's 3 other fingers pointing at you. Think about that. If something, the Baal Shem Tov says that, if something bothers you so much, it means that maybe you don't have exactly the same problem, and maybe there's something about it that you need to work on. So that's something also to keep in mind. Another one is know your spouse. Chanoch ana'ar apidarko, we say that you have to educate a child based on his ways. Same with your husband. I remember once I bought my husband for his birthday. I was so proud of myself. I bought him like race cars. Like you can drive but professional race cars. You can go on the circuit and drive them and everything. Now my husband doesn't like that at all. And me, I was so excited. I went online. I saw many women recommend that. I was like, cool. I bought it for him. He was like, thank you. But he didn't dare even tell me. And then the next day was like, I said, so when are you going? You want me to schedule a time and everything? I'll watch the kids. Honestly, I'm not going to do that. I don't like it. So I learned to learn who my husband was, what he likes. Give him something we like to get something we like, right? Learn who is your husband. If your husband is someone you need to be very firm with, then be firm with him. But if your husband is someone that will better react when you like do smooth talking, when you're patient, that change your way. Know who you're dealing with. It's so simple. Like if you're a good like a marketing person, before you call someone to sell them something, you first let them talk, right? You hear what they have to say. You see like you kind of like feel them. Then you go and sell your merchandise. That's the idea. It's like first, you know who you have in front of you. And if it's someone that doesn't like, there's no need to push and push and push. You're going to not do anything. Once I heard from a Rav, he said like, imagine you have a ball of ice. And now I'm giving you a task, you have to melt it. What are you doing? What would you do? Yes. Come on, how do you break? Thank you. Excellent. You just put heat next to it because you're going to try to break it with a hammer and everything. Honestly, you're maybe going to break what? A little bit, it's not going to work. Put a heat and it melts. So you have to know who you're dealing with. Is it ice or is it like a crumble that if you go, like with the heat and it's going to like just be like a catastrophe. So know who you're dealing with. Learn your husband, who your husband is. So important. And another one, I heard that from Rabbi Eli Hert. And that's a very important one. And then we'll go into practical tips. We'll just stop for the issues today, but very important. Miscommunication. Most of the issues, most of the fights that we have with our husbands, it's miscommunication. It's not because they're mean people and we're good people, or we're mean and they're good. It's because you don't speak the same language, you don't understand each other. And I know that you've all heard about that book, Men Come From Venus. Yeah. Oh, the opposite. Women come from Venus and men come from Mars. Mars. And point is, we don't speak the same language. And I'll give you an example so you understand. Sometimes the husband is going to come and say, my love, I want to invite people for Shabbat. I want to invite 10 guys over. Sure, bring them over. And then you find yourself the night before Shabbos having to cook, the kids are screaming, and you're like, why did I say yes? And you have a stress that comes upon you, and then they come to the house and you're super stressed all Shabbat, and you didn't rest for a second. What was the problem? Is it your husband who's at fault? No, it's you. If you can't do it, say it. It's okay. I can't do it. It's too much for me this Shabbat. I'm tired. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to say I cannot do it. We're superheroes already as we are. We don't need to prove anything to anyone. It's okay. What's worse is when I remember this couple, they were supposed to go out. And the guy was not feeling that well. But he insisted to his wife, I can do it. Yeah, we can go out. And the wife said, it's okay. We can stay home tonight. No. I promise I'll take you out. I'll take you out. Of course, they went out. After 5 minutes, I'm so tired. Why did I go out? And tomorrow, what I'm going to do? And I have so much work and blah, blah, blah. They started fighting and everything. They went back home. They didn't go out. The babysitter went home with little Pei. She was not happy. And no one was happy about the evening. You're tired. You don't feel good. Say it. Say it. What's the problem? Miscommunication. Say what you think. Women, we're intuitive. We have bina. We understand things. We don't have to be explained everything. Men, they need to be explained things clearly. It's true. I remember I was at my sister's home and she asked her husband, buy me lemons. And Mamash bought her 2 lemons because one is lemon, so he bought 2. So it's lemons. Now she cooks for 20 people. It's like, what is she going to do with the lemon? But how is he supposed to know? Right? She has to tell him. Now she writes, buy me 5 pounds of lemon. And he buys her 5 pounds of lemon and they don't fight anymore. Because I remember when he brought the 2 lemons, she got really upset at him. She was super, why? And I have to cook and the stress and get me the lemons again. Oh, you never explain anything. Because then he escalates. It's never the problem of the lemon, right? It's the problem that and you never buy me. I never buy you. Last week I bought you the what you asked me. Oh, but usually you never buy me. You see, if last week I bought you, it's not never, so watch your words. And then it starts going in an argument, right? For 10 minutes, for what? For 2 lemons? Chaval. Why? It's what happens most of the time because it's miscommunication. You want something, express yourself clearly. You want a specific gift, tell your husband, this is what I want. If he cannot, he has to be clear also and say, I can't buy it. But it's very important to say it. It's worse to actually miscommunication is worse than saying no to someone. Because you say no, it's clear. And I'll tell you, it's the same with education. A child comes to you, Mommy, can I watch a cartoon? And she says, no, I don't know, let me think. I'll tell you in 5 minutes. He's going to want to watch his cartoon and he's going to bug you. I'll sign it. He's going to bug you until the end of the evening. And if you don't let him watch, if you say no, well, what's going to happen? He's going to cry, he's going to complain. How long? 2 minutes, 3 minutes? But no is clear. End of the story. No. That's it. But when you're not sure and when you start like that's what creates problems. So be clear. So all these is what creates most issues within the home. So how can we fix that? Let's go now into practical tips. One of them is to be dan lekav zechut, to judge the other person favorably. That's such a big one. When you remember that your husband grew up in a different home, when you remember that your husband is different than you, that Hashem created him with a different language, different intuition, different everything, right? Even body is different, thank God. So that actually should not upset you that much. So when you actually judge him favorably and you remember where he's coming from, then you're not that upset at him. You can even make fun of him. Seriously. Oh, you bought me 2 lemons? Oh my goodness. Okay, let me explain to you. 2 lemons, it's good for 1 salad. I usually do 10 salads. You see now what happens? Okay, what do you want to do? Should I go? You go to buy the lemons. Because if I go, then I'm going to be late for Shabbos. But if you go, it's going to... You know what I mean? You can diffuse the situation. There's ways of doing it, sorry. There's ways of doing it. So that's one thing first. Judge the other favorably. Remember where it's coming from. The second one, and that's a big one, identify what's good, what's right with your spouse. How many times you call, just think about it for 2 seconds in your head. You say your husband's name and you say something like, let's say positive, or you call your husband's name and you say something stressful or negative. Let's say you're saying George, let's say it's his name. George, can you throw the trash? George, is the heater on? George, did you put the kids to sleep? George, when are you coming back from work? George, versus George, wow, it's amazing what you just did. You did an amazing deal at work. I'm so proud of you. George, thank you for helping me with the kids tonight. George, now replace it with your husband's name and see how many times you say something positive to him and how many times you say something not positive to him. Most of us, unless you're like tzadkaniyot, but most of us, without realizing it, we actually talk to our husband to ask them for something, to tell them something, but how many times we just say something nice. You have a nice shirt. Oh, you look good in that suit. I love your shoes. I don't know. Just think about all the things, even more private, you can tell your husband. Seriously. Change how you speak to him. Change how you see him. Because if you get used to saying compliments, you will see him in a better way. So he's not going to be that annoying. Because what happens is that if you say, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, at some point, 100% sure, your husband is going to say, no, I don't want to do it. I'm busy. I want to go to the bathroom. I want to watch something, right? I want to study. I want to go to my class, whatever. He's going to say something. He says no to me. Reaction is already, how can he say no to me? Oh, I need help or this or that, right? And goes to something else. Well, if you use to be nice to him and tell him nice things, what's going to happen is when you ask him something that is not that nice, he'll accept it. He'll take it because most of the time you're nice. So he'll take it from you. It's the same with a child. You tell something nice to your child, he's used to mommy asking me something nice. If you say no, he'll accept it better than a parent that always say no. That's very simple. So try to change how you address, maybe tomorrow when you go home, or tonight even, before you say something to your husband, take for a second and say, okay, is it positive or negative? And most of the things that you say, you can say it in a positive way, by the way. You can change how you say it. Another one, and it's a big one, it's disappointment is difference between expectation and reality. Sometimes our expectations are here, and the reality is right here. It's like, I don't know how many of you can expect their husband to cook a full meal. Maybe some. I'm sure some husbands are very good in the kitchen. But let's say in general. You cannot say, okay, I'm counting on you to do Shabbat. And then you come back right before Shabbos and there's what? one chicken in the oven and a little pasta, and he's certain that it's going to be okay for the whole family. Because you have to have reality and expectation. Most problem is because you expect things from your husband that he's not maybe capable of doing. So maybe, it doesn't mean that he's never going to get there. Careful. But it means that it needs time. Hashem created the world in 7 days. But we know at the same time that Hashem created the world with words. How long does it take to say a word? A few seconds. So he could have created the world in a few seconds. It's to teach us that building something takes time. Be patient. You have an end goal, it's fine. You'll get there. But in the moment, you have to adjust your expectations. So don't be upset for something that is not even realistic. You're unfair. It's being unfair on the person. Now, another thing, people are not robots. They have ups and downs, they have emotions. Sometimes you're upset, you have hormones. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're fine, right? Same with your husband. Sometimes something happens at work that he doesn't want to talk about, and he comes home and he's upset. So be forgiving, accept it. It's okay. We all have times, And on the same idea, there's a time to say things. If your husband comes home and he just lost a deal and he's pretty upset about himself, and you come and you ask him okay, can we go to Palm Springs on vacation? He's gonna say, hey, leave me alone with Palm Springs right now, right? He's gonna leave me alone. And you're gonna say, what? I'm not asking you. It's not like we take vacation and you don't never take time for your family and blah, 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 blah. For what? It was not the right time. Wait for him to eat, to relax, to go to shul, come back, speak to a friend, whatever, go for a walk, whatever, run for, jog a little bit, whatever makes your husband know your husband, right? Whatever makes him quieter and calmer, and then go ahead and ask him. I remember someone asked me recently, why the house was so quiet at around 5 p.m. after school. And the secret is very simple. Once I used to pick up my kids from school and they were super upset in the car. I had fights in the car non-stop. Mamash. So I asked a Rav, who was an educator, and he told me the secret. He said, bring food in the car. And now I do that. So I pick up my kids, I feed them in the car. Forget about the car being clean. It's okay. It's fine. I deal with it. It's something I worked on. But that's the idea. I feed my kids after. So when they come home, they're quieter, they're calmer. Try it. It worked well. And it works also with the husband. If he comes home and he's hungry and you don't even know, he's not going to say he's hungry. You think he's angry, but he's really hungry. Yeah, not the best person to pronounce it, but hungry, angry. You got the idea. Feed him first. Yes. Let him, maybe he needs to drink, maybe he needs to eat, maybe he just needs 5 minutes to himself, right? And sometimes you just you can't take it anymore with the children. You just want to give it to him. But calm down, it's okay. Yeah, please.
ואחד הטיפים שהיא נתנה באמת, שבעל מגיע הביתה, 20 דקות, לא לדבר איתו.
Wow, that's long.
כן, 20 דקות, לתת את ה...
So in English, she said, for those who don't understand, she said that she went to a class in New York for Shalom Bayit, and the lady said, when your husband comes home, give him 20 minutes before you start bombarding him. So maybe some husband needs less time, but the idea is just to give space. Exactly. Give some space to the person, give some snack, make sure it's relaxed before you go and attack. There was a story that I found very interesting with Rav Israel of Koznitz. It's a story that there was a guy who went to see him and he said, I want to divorce my wife. I can't stand her anymore, I'm divorcing her. So the Rav was like, come down, let's sit down, let's talk. Why do you want to divorce your wife? And he said, I'll tell you why. Every Friday, she bakes a kugel that smells like Gan Eden, paradise. It smells so good. And I can't wait to eat the kugel. And my wife, she says, no one touches the kugel. First, we sit down. Shalom Aleichem, Eshet Chayil, Kiddush. 10 minutes later, Kiddush. Can I have the kugel? No. First, the salads and the dips. So, yalla, salads and dip. Then the fish. Then the meat, then the soup, then she brings the kugel to the table. I hate her. She's so mean to me. I want to divorce his wife. She doesn't like me. She doesn't respect me. I want the kugel. She won't give me the kugel. I'll divorce her. So Rav Israel said, wait a second. He turned to the wife. He said, why? Why you don't want to give the kugel to your husband? She said, very simple. In my home, in my parents' home, we eat the kugel only after the soup. And I feel I would feel distress if we have soup and after soup there's no kugel. I can't. So he said, I have an idea. He said, that's what you're going to do every Shabbos. Every Shabbos you're going to bake 2 kugels. One you're going to let your husband eat whenever he wants. And the second one you're going to serve after soup. And every Shabbos we say that this rabbi made 2 kugels in his own house, and they called them the kugels of Shalom Bayit. He asked his wife to bake 2 kugels and every Shabbos. What's the idea here? The husband needed to eat his kugel, and then he would come down. That's all he needed. Give him his kugel. What do you care? Make another one for after the soup. Sometimes we're stuck on a preconceived idea, the way things should be. But a big deal. What if it's not like that? It's okay. It's okay. So you... תודה רבה. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, another one that is extremely difficult, but extremely. When your husband comes home, smile. Extremely difficult. If you had the kids... Now, I'll tell you why. If you were at the spa, and you come from the spa, and the husband comes home, hi honey, of course everyone can smile. But when you had the kids who just kept screaming, and you just fed, Baruch Hashem, 5 kids, and you have a baby who's crying, and you put them in pajamas, and you do the bath, and they splashed you, and you're all wet, and your makeup is like splashed on your face, and your husband comes home like, hey, hi, hello. You just want to kill him. Not because he did anything wrong to you, it's because you have like so much frustration, it has to go on someone. But lady, he's going to get upset, you're going to get upset, you're both going to get upset. Who knows how long you're not going to talk to each other. Smile. Hi, how are you? A few minutes, there's some kugel on the table. And then you can go ahead and ask him for help. But the idea is that smiling is so important. You know how many times you smile to someone and it just changes their day? Seriously, do you see someone in the street? Big deal. Okay, what did you do? An exercise. It's good also, for your chin, by the way. It works on your muscles. Just saying. But that's the idea. Before your husband comes home, try to smile. Try your best. And if you can't, honestly, it's okay one night. Okay, tonight. It's okay. We're not robots, right? We're humans. So it's okay if we're not perfect. We try. That's what we should strive to. And if you train yourself, you'll hopefully get there. Let him talk. Let him talk, because if you're smart, when you let him talk, you know what's in his mind, and then you can adjust your response, right? That's so smart. It's like with children, it's the same. Let them talk, like, yeah. Sometimes they just want to complain. He did that to me, no. You're like, if you stop him, no. He's going to be super frustrated. Let him talk, let him spill it, get it out, now talk to him. It's very important. So that's like basic. And Rav Dessler said something else. He said something very beautiful. He said that the root, the shoresh, the root of ahava, of the word love in Hebrew, is hav. Hav means to give. The more you give, the more you love. Very simple. The more you want to give to your husband, your efforts and your time, the more you love. It's very, very important. I'm laughing because I have a friend who's an esthetician at Burke Williams, and she just wrote, moral of the story, go to the spa more often. I'll come to you, Malka. so that's extremely important. Now, there's one more thing. Change your perspective. I'm going to explain with a story. Last week, I took my daughter to school. I told this story to someone maybe, but it explains. I took her to school, and she has to take the 101. She's in the city, or Al-Khana, so you take the 101. Yes, you take the 101 all the way. It's always the same way. Morning, afternoon, she takes the same road. So we're driving, and she's like, that road is so boring. I'm like, really? So yeah, always the same road. So what's boring about it? You're in Hollywood. Look, Universal Studio is here. There's a big minion saying hi. Like, look at this beautiful penthouse or whatever. It's not boring. Say, no, the road is not boring. Every day is the same road. Every day. It's boring. So I was like, you know what, Leora? I disagree with you. I said, look, let's look around. Look at that car. there was a sticker, like a bumper sticker, that's how you call it, on the car. Let's read it. So we read it, and then it was really funny. So like, let's look, do you think it's a lady or a man driving? So we started having guesses, and then we'll look, and it was really funny. It was someone from Utah. So we had to like imagine what she's doing here in California. And then we started looking at that car and this car. And then after 2 minutes, it was so much fun. I was like, so is it boring? And she's like, no, it's not. So yeah, because it's your perspective. It's how you look at it. If you think in your head, this is boring, the road is going to be boring. But if you think it's right, okay, let's make it fun, right? What's fun about it? Then it's going to be fun. If you look at your couple, at your issues, you're like doom and gloom. Oh God, we'll never get out of it. It's so depressing, this guy. Then yes, it will become like this. But if you change the way you see things, things will change. It's just proven. And if it doesn't change, it's because you're doing the wrong thing. So just readjust. That's it. Just know what you have in front of you and change the cream. Change what you have in front of you. Now, one more thing, and we get closer to the end when everyone can share. Sorry. I went on and on. I have so much to say. I have to calm myself. There was a therapist / rabbi. His name is Yaakov Leader. And he told the story that there's a husband and wife who came to him, and they had a lot of issues. And the woman started talking, and she said, my husband, he never puts the kids to sleep. He's refusing to help me to put the kids to sleep. And the husband was sitting next, and it was his turn to talk, and he said, she's a liar. It's not true. Every time she asked, I say, yes. What is she talking about? And they started half hour fighting. No, he never helps. Yes, he helps. No, he helps. Yes, I help. No, you don't help. But yes, you help. And they started fighting and fighting and fighting. And at the end, he looked at them, the therapist, rabbi, and he said, it's very funny because both of them, they're certain that they're right. And it's the same story they're telling, but they're all telling it from their own perspective. That's how the woman felt the story, and that's how the man felt the story. So how do you fix that? How do you fix when in a couple you have two people and it's the same thing that you're talking about and you all say that it's different? What happened? What do you do? So you have to remember, why that happens? It's because we come from different places. So we'll have all, I don't know how to say that in English, vécu. We have a life behind ourselves. Right before we met our husband, we had a life, a past. Thank you. So we're going to react based on our past, on our experiences. We're not going to react the same. It cannot happen. So for him, maybe saying once every 5 times yes to his wife is actually helping her. But for her, her dad maybe helped every night to put the kids to sleep. So it never helps, right? So they all have different experiences, and that's what happens. How do you fix that? How do you make them say the same thing? How do you help them? By asking them, and that's very important, to first explain what they say, number one. Because again, misunderstanding. So explain what you mean. It never helps you. What does it mean? Quantify it. Go into details. It didn't help you 5 times, and write it down. Sometimes you'll realize that you're exaggerating. And sometimes it's the other one who's going to say, wow, that many times I didn't say yes. But you have to quantify it, express it, go into details, speak about it. Once you say it out, you have to remember, to fix it now, instead of focusing on the past, you have to focus on a solution. Sometimes people are stuck in the problem. Someone you're going to talk to, and she's going to talk to you for an hour about the problem, and the problem, and the problem. But after an hour, you're like, okay, now, what can we do about it? Let's find a solution. But the person is, no, she wants you to hear how much she suffers. But okay, I hear you. It's important to express when you're in pain. But at some point, do you want to move on, or you want to stay in pain? Some people enjoy staying in the same situation, staying in pain. It's true. Some people enjoy that because sometimes it's scary. It's scary. We know actually how we feel when we're in pain. We don't know how we feel when we're going to work on it. And some people will tell you it's easier to work on it. Not true. It's a lie. It's more difficult to work on it, but the reward is better, and the end game, the result, is better. If you don't work on your problems and you let them drain, and that's another tip, when you have a problem, fix it now. Don't wait until it drags on and becomes this big thing. Because then it becomes this big thing and you have emotion involved, and how are you going to get out of it? You want to have a problem, you see a problem, you identify a problem, try about fixing it. Think about a solution. You cannot find a solution between the two. Find a third person who's going to facilitate the discussion, who's going to help you move forward. But don't stay in there. Because people who stay in these relationships, they're not healthy. They become sick. Mamash. Someone who stays in an unhealthy relationship, sometimes who suffer in their home, is not going to be someone happy. She's going to be not smiling. She's going to be upset. You cannot be happy when you live in an environment that is stressful. It's impossible. You need Shalom Bayit for one more reason. For your children. If you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your kids. You want good chinuch? You want good education? There was this Rav, his name, I wrote it down because I forgot, Rav Orlowek. He said there's 8 things that make la briut. There are 8 things that make you a good Shalom Bayit, that make you a good education, that make you a good chinuch. Shalom Bayit, 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 Shalom Bayit. I don't know why only 8, but Shalom Bayit, you got the idea. That's what Rav Orlowek was saying. Because you want to actually teach something to your kids. You know how your kids learn? How you interact with your husband. They watch the smart kid. They see how you interact. If you don't respect your husband, or vice versa, if you don't speak to each other in kavod, with respect, then your kids are not going to talk to you with respect. If you lie and they see that, shh, don't tell papa, don't tell daddy, right? They're not going to tell you someday. Yes, my friend, whatever you do, your kid will do. Whatever he does, your kid will do. When we see children who have problems, it comes from somewhere because the parents act like this. They learn from somewhere. That's why chinuch, education, when you work on education, actually make you work on yourself. Because you realize you have to fix yourself in order to fix, your children. And marriages that last actually until 120, Be'ezrat Hashem, our marriages have Hashem in them. What's Hashem? It's accepting that once you get into the chuppah, your husband becomes your etzem, becomes your essence. You, me, we're together. We're not here to dispose from each other. We're here to work together. And Ish and Isha, if you take the letter Yud from each, you take Hashem out of the equation, it's ash, it's fire. You'll have fire in your home. There will be fights. And remember that whatever you actually fell in love with, it's whatever you had also before. There is this woman and this guy that had a lot of Shalom Bayit. First year of marriage. They just got married a few months. Not even. They already wanted to divorce. They went to see this big Rav in Crown Heights. I forgot his name, I'm sorry. I heard this story from Plotkin, Mrs. Plotkin. And they went to see this Rav in Crown Heights, and they said, we want a divorce. She said, I can't take it anymore. I said, what's the main issue? She said, every Shabbos, he goes to shul, he comes home with like 50 guys, 50 bachurim, and I have to feed everyone. And I'm in such a stress, I tell him to stop, he doesn't stop, it's too painful, I can't have 50 people in my home every Shabbos. So, the Rav turned to the guy, he said to the guy, but why do you do that? And he said, because in my parents' home, every Shabbos, my dad brings whoever he finds at shul. And my home, my mom always makes food for everyone. There's always enough. So I don't see the problem. What's your problem? You should adapt. And they're like fighting and fighting. And the Rav turned to the girl and he said, tell me, how did you meet him? And she's like, it's funny you're asking. Because actually, we were with my parents in Manhattan, I believe. And our car broke down and we're supposed to go somewhere really fast and we had no phone and no money, and it was like we're on our way to a simcha. It was like a big pain. And his dad came down, like he was on the street and he saw us like struggling and he said, do you need help? He took us into his home because it was really cold outside. He brought us to his house. He gave us food. He helped us. He helped us with the car. Everything he did for us. And my parents were so impressed with us, how they were welcoming strangers, that they started talking and they realized they had a boy in shidduch age and they had a girl. That's how we met. So he said, so wait a second. You actually married him because of this quality. Because his parents actually have always people in their homes and they don't count. Why now it bothers you? And she stopped and she says, you're right. So they started talking and then they had a compromise. And she said, you know what? You're right. That's really what I liked about you, but I'm not ready yet for 50 people. So let's start with 9, which is already big. And he started only bringing 9, and that's how they fixed their problem. The idea is what? The idea is that sometimes there is a solution first to everything. That's the first idea. Second idea is that sometimes you get upset at something, but that's what we're saying in the beginning. That's why if you fell in love with. So try to remember why you fell in love with that person and how you can transform what bothers you today into something positive from before. And there's always like a compromise. There's always something that you can find to make it happen. And now I'm going to finish with that idea. You can ask, why do I have to do all the efforts? Why not him? Why this class is not for men? And it should be, by the way. It should 100% be for men. But why this class is not for him? And I'll tell you, when you get married, there's one thing you need to put aside is your ego. Ego is bye-bye. You get married, it's not just what do I get, it's what do I give. There's once a guy who was very depressed, and he wrote to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he wrote, and I feel this, and I feel that, and I have this, and I have that. And the Rebbe circled all the I's, like this, and he said, that's your problem. I. If you're only about I, then you're not going to advance. It's not just what do I get. Sometimes you have to bring first. You have to be the first one. So what? If the result is going to be a good result, it's okay. So that's all this idea that I wanted to share tonight, just to start the discussion on Shalom Bayit. It's like already, I think, enough. And just finish with, we know the Shvat, I don't remember who said that, but Shvat is the Rashi Tevot, is the letters that we can write, Shenishma besorot tovot. May we hear only good news. So I'm going to end the class like this. May we hear only good news. May we have like the trees are like it's abundant, it gives fruits. May you also, Be'ezrat Hashem, have fruits, have like, like a reward from all the efforts you'll be giving. And may we hear only good news with Mashiach. Amen.